Well, it's been a day of a very little bit of implementation and a lot of design. Finished up testing for all the Awk core components, and then I started working on the conclusions. And I came to the conclusion, that trying to edit in these itty bitty boxes is ain't gonna fly, not gonna work. Um, it's just not enough room, and you'd have to have So when I sat down, I thought, okay, I have this entire box reserved that's mine that I am contained within. What if I just use it? What if I use all of the available area? So I was thinking of, you see here the designs for this birth, escape, marriage. So I ended up with a conclusion flow that kind of looked like this, where you do an overlay of some type that's loading, so that you don't end up with a whole bunch of pop-in and other things like that. And when it's loaded, it'll come down and it'll just have the regular, the regular boxes. And then when you click or touch one of these elements here, then, I'm going to make this bigger. If you touch one of these elements here, then it'll use the entire box to do an editor, and you have the value and the explanation and a done. And then rather than a save, you just save on blur or save after they stop typing for a little bit. Things like that. Modern saving. I guess optional. We'll see when I actually get into it. And then I started going through, okay, what are the states that I'm going to have? What are the things I'm going to have? And I'll end up either with a placeholder value or an actual value, and then it'll default itself. This will work for things like place and date, where it's just text field. With a person, you kind of have this weird picker / create a person if there's not one there. So that'll be a little bit different, but the same concept will hold. It will either be a picker that's, okay, pick one, or here's the person you have, do you want to pick another? And then when you change a value, you switch it to new value, and maybe you click done or something like that, it'll put the class awk saving on the entire block. That way you can target whatever you need. And then you have this little blob down here saving, and your two states are either error or saved. And error, we're just going to put it, essentially wrap it in red and put a little error blob, maybe a blurb down here about what went wrong if we know what went wrong. There's not a lot of error checking that will happen outside of the UI. So we'll have to see what happens with error text. For saved, you just go green, and then after 2.5 seconds, just go back to regular. You saved, you're good. Check, done, finished. At least that's what I'm planning now. The nice thing is these editors are going to be divorced from the particular view, which means I need to go do a whole bunch of renaming, because I have core component and then core date, core place. I'm going to essentially have to rename all those to core place to core place view, and then have these guys be core place editor, and it'll work completely different. That way they're completely separate, and editors take up a lot more space than a view, because you have explanation text and state and other things you have to worry about. So that's what I spent a good chunk of my time doing, is going through how is this all going to work, how am I going to lay out the conclusion, because this is actually a part of the conclusion. So when you instantiate or you stick a, awk conclusion birth, I think that one's right here. Yeah, this one's birth. It will contain within it all of the editing functionality, and it will automatically register handlers. So when you do clicks, it brings up the appropriate editors. So it's all contained. So in here, you'll have kind of three, I guess, layers is the best way to put it. So you have a container that takes up the whole width. And then you'll have an overlay, which is to handle things like this state, where the entire conclusion is initializing. And then you'll have the regular layer, that contains all of the view, kind of the view or content layer. And then you'll have the editor layer. It's right here. And then you'll probably z-index them so that this view layer is on bottom, and then the editor layer is on above that, and then the overlay is on top. Z-index them and then just hide and show them. Just display none, display block, or whatever it is. Or maybe add a nice little hidden class toggle, something like that, so that it toggles correctly. And you can even put some transition due to the layering. We could do a fade, especially if we do like a CSS. You could do a CSS transparency and then just hide it at the very end. Because they're full layers, it gives us the flexibility to make some nice transitions. So tomorrow is going to be implementing a really ugly version of this. A version that works, but I guarantee you it's going to be ugly. But that's okay. We'll go ugly and then prettify later. At this point, I'm more worried about how is the flow going to feel. Is it going to be clean? Can I make an experience that's going to be consistent across all of the different conclusion types, things like that. So that's it for today. Take care.